Hey everyone, welcome to day 2 for graphing lines. All right, day 2 is going to be not as new stuff as yesterday, or not as much stuff. Really, the only new thing that we're adding, if you look at this, is standard form. Okay, because we talked about the slope formula yesterday. We talked about these 4 graphs. We talked about slope-intercept form. We talked about point-slope form. So standard form is the only new form, and if you don't remember standard form, essentially what it means is that x and y are on the same side, okay? A, B, and C are just numbers. They're just whole numbers. So there's not really much you can do with standard form, all right? It's not like point-slope form where you've got a slope and you've got a point, or standard form, or sorry, slope-intercept form where you've also got a slope and the y-intercept. Standard form doesn't give you anything, okay? So when you're in standard form, pretty much the only thing that you can do is go ahead and turn it into slope-intercept form. And that's where the literal equations come into play, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to do the same thing that we did yesterday, all right, with the following equations, determine the slope in a point. All right, so the first one they give us, not even in standard form, okay? This is just slope-intercept form, all right, with no y-intercept, so that means the y-intercept is 0. So our slope, all right, our slope is in front of the x, that's 3/4. And then our point, all right, is going to be the y-intercept, which is 0. So that means our y-intercept is at 0, 0. So this line goes through the origin. So now we're going to talk about standard form, right? How do you do this? Because we don't have the slope right now, and we don't have a point. So the only way to do it is to turn it into slope-intercept form. And it takes 2 steps to do that, all right? The first step is always going to be to move your x, all right? You're going to move your x to the other side. Now, when I do that, I like to put the x in front of the number because that's how slope-intercept form is written. It just makes it easier to see the slope and the y-intercept when you're done. All right, so first step, move the x. Second step is always divide by b, okay? And it's always going to be these same 2 steps. So we've got y equals, okay, so what is this right here, right? What is that number? Well, if you remember, this is a 1 in front, right? So this number is -1 divided by -4, so that's 1/4. And then we've got 4 divided by -4, that's -1. So we can answer our question now. Our slope is 1/4. Our point is our y-intercept, which is -1, so that's 0, -1. All right, it's always going to be those same 2 steps. Now, maybe you might not need to do one of the steps if, for example, y doesn't have a b value, but other than that, it's a maximum of 2 steps. So again, we've got standard form, so we're going to move our x over. This cancels out. 2y equals -5x plus or -12. Now we divide by 2. We divide everything by 2, all right? It's important to remember. So this is -5/2 x. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So our slope is -5/2. Our point is our y-intercept, which is 0, -6. All right, so really the only thing new that we're talking about today is how to turn from standard form into slope-intercept form, because once you're in slope-intercept form, it's nothing new. All right, it's everything that we talked about yesterday, and that the same goes for graphing. So we're gonna do these 2 graphing problems here. All right. Again, we got to turn it into slope-intercept form, so we're going to subtract 5x on both sides. That gives us -y equals -5x minus 10. All right, some people forget about this when there's no number. All right, that negative sign is still attached to the y. All right, so that's got to come down. Now we're going to divide by -1 because we have to get rid of that negative sign. So when you're dividing by -1, your numbers aren't changing, but your signs are, because you're dividing by a negative. So we've got 5x plus 10. All right, so now we graph this the same way we graph in slope-intercept form. So we've got a y-intercept of 10, so that's our starting point. Now we need to count off our slope. Now our slope is positive, right? Rise over run, remember this is over 1, so we want to go up 5 over 1, but we can't go up 5, right? Because the graph cuts off. So what we have to do, we have to go down 5. We kind of have to go backwards. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 1 to the left. We can do that as many times as we want. Until we have a sufficient amount of points. And then we can draw our line through and we are done. All right. So that's the first one. The second one, this one's a little bit interesting because this isn't even in standard form, right? Because of this number right here. But that doesn't really change anything for us. We're still trying to get y by itself because that's what slope-intercept form is. So instead of just moving the x, we just also have to move that over too. So we're just going to subtract both of them on the other side. So we're canceling both of them out in one step just to save some space. So we've got 3y equals negative 4x minus 9. Now we have to divide by our b, so divide by 3. That gives us y equals negative 4/3 x minus 3. All right. And you always want to leave this as a fraction. I can't remember if I said that yesterday, but you don't want to turn it into a decimal because you want your rise and your run, right? So we're going to graph this. So our starting point is negative 3. That's our y-intercept. So we're going to come down to negative 3. Now we want to count off our slope. Now our slope's negative. So remember, the negative slope only affects your rise. It just means we're going down 4. When we go over 3, we're still going to go over 3 to the right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And again, we can do that multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. When you've got the amount of points you want, then you can draw your line, and we are done. All right, so that's all we're doing today. The practice is attached to this. When you submit this, you can get rid of the first page if you want, make a new file and just submit the practice. But your practice, we're going to do this in class tomorrow, all right? And it's going to be just the same stuff that we talked about here, all right? Graphing and doing work with standard form. So if you have any questions, all right, ask them at the beginning of the Zoom. Actually, I keep saying the Zoom session. We might not even be in Zoom session. I'm recording this still when we don't know, but if we're in hybrid, all right, then I guess you can't really ask a question. You just got to do the practice now. But you can always Canvas message me, all right, if you have a question now. I'll try to respond. So yeah, if we are in Zoom, I'll see you tomorrow. If we're in hybrid, all right, go ahead and do the practice and have a great day.